are Arsenal failures. The narrative with Mikel Arteta for many years was that he held on to his job for his awful run during 2021 because of his FA Cup win in that time period. And if it wasn't for the FA Cup win that he got with Aubameyang, Lacazette, the idea that if he got his own players and he got his own culture, then surely things could only get better. And he already started off with a win. Now it's kind of gone the other way around, that 5 years on, he's not won a single trophy since that day. Unless if you want to count the Community Shield. Being an Arsenal fan on Wednesday night must be something akin to your entire family and friends watching you fall down the stairs repeatedly. What felt like the entirety of football coming together to have a hate watch session and just dunking on every Arsenal fan possible. And for me as someone which, I've got no real skin in the game as a Burnley fan, I preferably would want Arsenal to win the Champions League, or really any English team, really, because that's what I find interesting. I got many friends that are Arsenal fans, Liverpool fans, probably not many that are City fans, really. Chelsea, whoever, right? So I wanted Arsenal to win the Champions League. I want them in the final. An Inter versus PSG final, as myself personally, I'll watch it, but I wouldn't care about it as much if it was Inter v Arsenal or Barca v Arsenal, right? And that's just me. I don't think that's like a bad thing. I think that's normal if you're from the country that you're from. You would want a team from your country to be in the final because you know them, you know people around them, you know the players a lot more. So that makes sense. The Champions League always felt like a step too far for Arsenal. However, how the season has gone, it felt like it was its only resort of any sort of success this season. They already failed in every other aspect. In a season which Manchester City, for once, have finally bottled it, have finally fell off, have finally got an actual season which they are not the City that we know. They're not relentless. They're not perfect. They are gettable. The one season at Arsenal from the last 3 that they actually have a chance of winning the league, they were nowhere to be seen. The last 2 seasons before this, they were neck and neck with Man City, and in all honesty, especially last season, probably should have gone on to win the title. They won so many games in a row. In the last second half of last season, from my memory, I'm pretty sure they had like 1 loss and 2 draws out of the last 18 games or something, and they still didn't win the title because of how good Man City are too. This year should have been their year. It had to be their year. Allowing Liverpool to win the title after what should have been a transitional season, a team which is heavily reliant on one player, Mohamed Salah, to score goals, when the rest of the attack have been out of form and just hit and miss at best. The best player I would say is potentially maybe Gakpo, I think seems to be the most consistent of the rest, but Jota, Diaz, Nunes, they're very hit and miss, especially Nunes, we know that. This should have been, in all regards, a transitional season for Liverpool. After a near decade of Jurgen Klopp, we all said the same thing. It should be a decent success if he can get them, in a comfortable top 4 position on a slot. If he got them in the top 4 quite comfortably, it'd be a good season. Because what else would you expect under a new manager after a full near decade under a different manager, right? Typically when a manager is at a club for a long period of time, there is a bit of, kind of change in the culture of the club. That changes a bit. And that shows the credit that Arne Slot should get for doing what he did, in my opinion. Arsenal failed. And they failed again. Now, why is that? Well, speaking to many Arsenal fans that I know, it all seems to come down to really 2 things. Number 1, the board let Mikel Arteta down, specifically in the January window. But it can go even further back. The obvious, lack of a number 9 and a clear clinical striker in that squad has been evident for the last 3 years. Playing Kai Havertz as a number 9 is not going to drag you over the line in those big games. Neither will Gabi or Jesus, so beforehand you had Eddie Nketiah and so on. They've not replaced Aubameyang. They've been needing a striker for 4 years since they let go of Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. You may also say Alexandre Lacazette as well, but let's be honest, Aubameyang was the main player there. They've not replaced him. That is of a failure of, I probably would say Mikel Arteta, but let's be honest, it's probably of the board as well. But the narrative is changing with Arsenal because Despite what has been a 5-year project under Mikel Arteta, they should be at the end game now. They should be ready. However, I'm seeing an article here such as a tired and incomplete squad almost took Arsenal to a Champions League final. Now it's time to strengthen. I don't want to be harsh here, but I think this is ridiculous. You can't have a squad 4 or 5 years into this project after coming close and having that experience 2-3 years in, and if you still fail to strengthen your squad to be good enough to even win one trophy, and it's not just also the trophies, but also the lack of a final. They've not been in a single final since that FA Cup final. They've been in semi-finals of the Europa League, which they failed, of the semi-final of the League Cup twice, and now semi-final of the Champions League, but not one final. That is of the fault of the board, of the manager, and even of the players as well. I'm sorry, that's the truth of the matter. 5 years is a long time. And the place that we've come to now, 5-6 years in almost, is that Arsenal is mortally known for set pieces and corners. When they need it, when they need all the help they can get, they rely on set pieces to get them over the line. Now, it's got a bit better now, you may say, and I wouldn't say, in that PSG game that, they made some great opportunities that was not from set pieces. However, this is kind of the team that they are. I want to read the start of this. Right? So, there are only so many times a promising squad can give everything of themselves throughout the slog of a season. The unrelenting schedule of prepare, play, recover, the family sacrifices and time away, the psychological strain of being constantly and fiercely judged for every detail of your work and output, the physical pain of injuries and rehab. Only so many times can a squad buy in, believe and convince themselves they can lift silverware as reward for their efforts, only to drop the prize and end up in tears. Now, the thing is for me is that this could be said for quite literally any high-level elite team ever played ever. Yes, there's more football now than what it was 10, 20 years ago. I don't want to blame the players too much for this. In my opinion, from the PSG games that I saw the other night, the away game especially for the first half or so, I would say Arsenal was probably the better team for a good portion of the two legs. Arsenal seemed to be the team that was moving forward and that they were creating opportunities, and PSG were more on the counter, trying to suck up pressure, hit on the break, and trying to make their chances count here. And that was evident game plan. They had the pace and the break and the transition, and they made it pay. PSG also has, probably right now, I think we can all agree, probably the best goalkeeper in the world right now. So if they do get a chance, they have a pretty good opportunity that they can somehow survive it thanks to Donnarumma. Donnarumma must be like... Donnarumma and Bukayo Saka must be like this is like a Marvel film at this stage, where it's like the enemy and like the superhero protagonist, right? But why is Donnarumma there at every single pivotal part of Bukayo Saka's career just to stomp in his face? It's so frustrating. If you are an Arsenal fan, as an Englishman as well, thanks to the Euros and Donnarumma, he is the most annoying goalkeeper to come up against in history, because he is so good, but yet looks like he barely wants to be there. It's so annoying. The idea that Arsenal, they go and they recover and they play and they cover and they play, and look, Arsenal are not ready because of the fault of their own board, and I guess you could also say due to Mikel Arteta as well. Because when you look at the bench on that PSG game, compared to the bench of the PSG team, it's night and day. Arsenal's bench was the following. You got the likes of Calafiori in there, who's been kind of injured a lot this season. Trossard, okay, Trossard's probably a decent backup player as well. Ben White, yeah, okay, sure. And then you got Zinchenko, Jorginho, Kieran Tierney, Raheem Sterling, and then the rest are just, young, really young players. Ethan Nwaneri is a player that's played a lot more now, but he's still so young. And then you got, Henry Francis and Tommy Setford and Butler, Adi Deji. Now, look, right. I would say out of the bench that they had, to sub one of the game of this magnitude, because Jorginho and Sterling, Tierney, they're near the end of their careers, right? They may have some experience, but then almost past it in terms of top elite level. The only player that you can really rely on to make some kind of change in a game of this magnitude is Trossard, I would say, really. And you look at who PSG brought in. He brought on Ousmane Dembele, which is just ridiculous. Lucas Hernandez, crazy experience of Bayern and PSG, and Gonzalo Ramos as well, which is another number 9 that Arsenal probably wish that they had. And because Arsenal's squad is so low in depth, depth. Like, they've been trying to focus on like almost every single cup and failed in all of it because of it. Like, they can't compete in every single competition. In the FA Cup, they failed to Newcastle. In the FA Cup, they failed at home to United on penalties. When it comes to Champions League, they got a famous night away to Santiago Bernabeu, and, you know, free kicks got them over the line in the first leg, thanks to Declan Rice. Premier League, just too many games that they just failed. They lost to Bournemouth recently. They draw to Brentford. They draw away to Forest. They in the big games, they've been really poor. Fulham, Everton, Brighton, all these teams. Because I'm seeing a lot of people, like, you know, online. I know it's online, so I shouldn't pay much attention to it, but I do, because I care, because I like Bukayo Saka. There's not one thing that I've seen him do which I'm thinking, like, oh, okay. Like, no, he's like, people make jokes about it because he limped a bit because he plays almost every single game, and that's because he is actually getting injured a lot more now because he keeps playing every single game. Like, he needs help. He needs help here. And like, I'm seeing people call him a bottler because, like, he missed a chance to make it potentially 2-2, like, I think the 83rd minute or so. It's like a cross, and I think people don't realise how hard that is. Like, the idea of a ball coming in at pace, with the pressure of the man behind you, and also the keeper coming out. It's mainly the keeper coming out to come get the ball, and you're not really, like, it's hard to really anticipate where the ball is going to bounce and how it will bounce with the keeper diving out like that. So I think people really fail to estimate how hard that chance actually is. That's just kind of my view on that, really. So what now? Like, Arteta has spent about, like, what, £700 million since he's joined them over the last 5 years. You know, he's the one that went to go to get Kai Havertz and Gabriel Jesus to be their strikers. He made that decision. He decided that. They decided to sign a ton of utility defenders that could be in multiple positions, and Timber, and to go with White and Calafiori. And they still almost did it. Like, in that game, they made a ton of opportunities, and they just weren't clinical enough, unfortunately. Like, in that first 10 minutes or so in that game, Donnarumma have made like 2 or 3 like incredible saves. Like the chance from Odegaard in the bottom left corner as well, and I think it was a snapshot from, I think it was Declan Rice from a corner or something. Like, he made some great saves, and in another game, those could have gone in. I think Rice had a header as well, which was nearly in as well after 5 minutes as well. They came close. They almost did it. But end of the day, this is still a failure, because an Arsenal team with this much money put into it, this many years in, should be doing more now. I've seen a few Arsenal fans saying that it's time to move on from Arteta, saying that he's not the man to get it over the line. But, like, if the entire club is kind of built around him and his kind of culture, I kind of don't know who would be that manager. But people say, well, Jurgen Klopp had Liverpool and his culture, and then, you know, Arne Slot came in and did what he did. So surely it's possible. Who that manager would be, I really don't know. But the question is really, at what stage will it become like you've got to get it over the line now? Like, will we be backed again? I think he has to. Who that number 9 should be, I think realistically for me, if they really are serious, they need to do all they can to try to get Alexander Isak. Or people may say Gyökeres as well for Sporting Club de Portugal, but I think that is more of a risk, I would say, than a Isak. Isak would do incredible things if he was at Arsenal. He is the most Arsenal player that I've seen. And that's not just because he was number 14. So, if they're serious, I don't care. I don't know how much Newcastle are asking, but 100 mil, they spent that on Rice. Isak would do that. No doubt in my mind. So yeah, that's Arsenal. Comment down below your thoughts, and I'll see you next time. Bye.